Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Community Transit Board of Directors meeting for May 1st, 2025. This meeting is conducted in hybrid format, both in person and remote, and is recorded and live streamed. I'd like to ask Rachel, our board clerk, to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Daughtry.
Present.
Councilmember Dunn.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Frizzell.
Present.
Labor Representative Julian.
Present.
Mayor Marine. Here, thank you. Councilmember Merrill.
Here.
Mayor Nearing.
Here, thank you.
Councilmember Peterson, looks like.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Roberts.
Here, thank you.
And Councilmember Schweddy.
Present.
Thank you, Chair. We do have a quorum of board members for our board alternates. We have Councilmember Gallagher in attendance in the room, and that concludes roll.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we're on to public comments. Do we have any signups, Rachel? No, okay. All right, so we'll first take anyone in the room. Is there anyone in the room that would like to provide comments to the board of directors today? I don't see anybody just jumping up, so I think maybe we don't have anyone in the room. Is there anyone?
Nobody's throwing anything.
No one's, yeah, that's right. What about remote? Do we have anyone remote? No hands raised? Okay. All right, must be doing a good job. All right, we'll close public comments then and on to presentations. We'll ask our CEO to take that and go with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have two pretty notable employee recognitions today. As we get through them, I think you'll pretty quickly see why. So let me first invite Colleen Hanson to come on up. Colleen. How are you? Good. You can tell that she's not very well liked by her peers. Colleen is amazing. Colleen is celebrating 30 years at Community Transit, which is amazing. And I've got a lot of nice words here that were put together by her coworkers and her friends, and I will work through them. I just want to start by observing to the board that you are so well aware of our financial performance record, our audit record, our awards that we win from the GFOA. Colleen is in the heart of all that work. And so her fingerprints and her heart and soul are in that work that Community Transit does year in and year out to set a very high bar for financial performance and accountability. So I want to thank you for that just off the top and recognize you for that. Colleen was hired in 1995 as an accountant. She holds a degree in accounting from UW. She is known for her superb technical skills and is a licensed CPA. I'm sure Mayor Frizzell will appreciate that. I'm told that she can make Excel stand up and dance, quote unquote, and is legendary for the queries and the reports that she writes. Over the years, CT has expanded her role considerably, and she is now working almost exclusively on systems for finance, accounting, budgeting, and procurement as a senior financial analyst. In her 30 years here at Community Transit, she's been recognized many times. Her list of achievements is long. There's a couple of note. In 2009, she was honored as part of WashDOT's annual Wall of Fame for our core value of continuous learning after being nominated by her peers. She has been recognized more than once for the key role she plays in ATU retro payments. So you'll all recognize that often when we reach a new agreement with ATU that there's some retro pay involved, and that can be very complicated. And she's the one who leads that for us. In 2019, she was recognized for her participation in the Profix Business Analytics System, which replaced our old PeopleSoft system. And she was recognized for implementing that one 13 years prior. So she's always there with our new systems, helping employees learn and adjust and adapt as we go forward and improve our work. She resides in Everett with her husband, Mike, her two sons, and their two cats, Sven and Gunther. She has lived locally in Everett and Snohomish County all of her life. She knits amazing creations and loves science fiction and Legos. In her spare time, she enjoys theater and symphony, vacations, is an avid Husky fan, also has a Taekwondo black belt,
Second degree.
which she earned alongside her teenage son, Alex. So one last piece of trivia that's not in here is that she hired into community transit with a person who is referred to as her transit twin. Where is she? Cheryl Mears came today to honor her friend. And the two of them gave me a transit blessing when I started in this job, if I recall correct. So they had a tradition of blessing new hires as the transit twins. So nice to see you today. Thanks for coming. Yeah, so congratulations, Colleen.
Thank you.
For you. Thank you. Certificate. Okay. Yeah.
It has been a pleasure
Well,
serving the people of
You can
me.
talk in a second. You know how shy you are.
Right.
Step on up.
I just want to say it's been a pleasure serving the people of our community. I mean, that's kind of like the extra, the PTO and the PERS. I mean, 30 years in PERS especially. It's really nice, but it also feels good that you feel like you're doing something for the community as well. So it's an added bonus benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. I also see Lori Fox back there. It's a veritable Sound Transit Financial alumni meeting. That's the only way we could top that, and we're not topping it. We're just having another really important recognition is to bring up, this is a first for me, recognizing an employee who has worked here for 40 years. Nana Hall Both, come on up. I'm almost scared to go through this. I don't think you get to be, he's the closest thing to a living legend that we have here at Community Transit, to be able to be somewhere and work for 40 years. You don't get that far without having a huge impact on an organization. So some of the things I'll talk about here will show that. Rather than read a biographical summary, I'm going to go with comments that his coworkers have reported to him as part of this process. Just to start, he was originally hired as a coach operator trainee. He started with King County in 1983, moved over to CT in 1985, and was a coach operator for 23 years before becoming a transportation supervisor, which he's now serving as. What follows is an extensive list of comments from his coworkers and colleagues, and it's pretty amazing. First, from a senior coach operator, Nana Hall is widely recognized as an attentive listener, consistently prompt in his actions. He maintains a calm, respectful demeanor with both drivers and passengers, making him easy to work with. Whenever Nana Hall arrives on a scene, I'm confident I'll receive a high level of support. Close quote. From a senior dispatcher, Nana Hall is like a walking navigation system. His knowledge of our service area is truly remarkable. When a coach goes off route, he can get them back on track within seconds, all without ever needing to consult GPS or a map. It's genuinely impressive how effortlessly he navigates, a testament to his experience and familiarity with the area. From a former supervisor who's now a manager, Nana Hall not only ensures the daily operations run smoothly, but he also stands out as a natural teacher. During my time training to become a supervisor, I learned an incredible amount simply by riding alongside him. And I'll always be grateful for his willingness to share his knowledge so generously. I've seen him extend that same support to countless others time and again. His dedication to helping others grow is a big part of why he's so highly respected at Community Transit. From a current manager, Nana Hall could retire anytime he wants, but if you talk to him, you'll see he keeps showing up every day because he really loves what he does. And it's not just that he's here, it's how he shows up that makes the difference. He brings such positive energy and everyone genuinely loves and respects him. From another coach operator, Nana Hall could be in Seattle. And if an issue comes up in Darrington, which is way outside his area, he's still listening on the radio and ready to help. Even if it's not his responsibility, he's always there for his fellow supervisors, dispatchers, and coach operators. His experience is unmatched. He's seen it all, and we're lucky to have him on the team. Just amazing. Nana Hall, I will now sort of just a couple of quick things about him. He's not only fully dedicated to his work at CT, but he also is a devoted husband, an excellent father to 4 wonderful children, and a proud grandfather. Prior to being at CT, he traveled all of Europe and the Middle East, visiting 28 different countries. And after retirement, there's something. With his love of travel, he plans to get back to traveling and see the rest of the world, and I'm sure he will. He's been commended or received special recognition 14 times, if I'm counting this right. I won't read all of these, but what a remarkable record. 40 years. Congratulations, Nana. Do we have any supervisors in the room? Hands up, supervisors. Thanks for being here. Here is certificate. Thank you. 40-year pin. Would you like to say a few words? Good? All right, well, thank you. Thank you. It's really remarkable. Thank you, Nana Hall. 40 years.
Very impressive. Yeah, thank you for your service. Okay, we're on to Chief Executive Officer's Report. CEO Elgin Fritz, that's you're on again.
So I get to keep talking.
Yes, you do.
Okay, well, thank you for that, and thank you to Nana Hall and Colleen. Just remarkable service to the public. What I have to report now will seem mundane by comparison, but I've got a number of things I wanted to touch on. I've been out and about as spring has come and things have gotten nicer out there weather-wise. Last week, I had an opportunity to spend some quality time with some peers on a tour of Kitsap Transit and its facilities. I joined Michelle Allison from King County Metro and Mike Griffiths from Pierce Transit at the invitation of John Clausen, who's the GM over there, to take a look at their marine operation and also their central base at Charleston with its new charging infrastructure and their battery electric fleet. Also had an opportunity to go up to see their new transit center near the hospital at Silverdale. Just a great outing, opportunity to network and learn from peers and share experiences. Also, I'm sure many of you joined as well at the Economic Alliance Luncheon last week. That was a great event and an opportunity to see a lot of folks. And then, of course, we hosted SKIT here last Tuesday, where Secretary Julie Meredith from WashDOT came and provided an update and a little bit of a talk about her approach to leading WashDOT. And then Representative Rick Larson held a roundtable in the city of Linwood, and I was joined there by Mayors Frizzell and Marine and Mayor of Everett. And we had an opportunity to talk about our priorities for the reauthorization of the bipartisan infrastructure law. Believe it or not, that is now in its 4th year of implementation, and Representative Larson and the chair of the committee, Sam Graves, have committed to work together on a bipartisan basis to try to reauthorize it. So they're beginning to take that kind of input. We emphasized the importance of continuing our federal funding partnership and our participation in the Capital Improvement Grant Program, Capital Investment Grant Program, bus and bus facilities programs, and the regional competitive funds. So hopefully they will make some progress, and I'm glad to hear that they're starting that work. Also at the federal level, we're continuing to monitor the various executive orders that are coming out of the administration and the Department of Transportation. We are working through our triennial review and our certifications and assurances for grant funding. So that continues to be a moving target, but we're following it closely and prioritizing maintaining our federal funding partnership. Tariffs, another area of focus. Again, the picture changes on a somewhat unpredictable basis there, and you'll note on today's agenda, we've got an action item for the barrier door project that does include a contingency for tariffs as it's a Canadian product. So it's just an example of how we're watching those issues and accounting for how they affect community transit. At the state level, I'm sure you all know by now, we had a sine die down in Olympia, and the legislature enacted a balanced budget, an operating budget, and a transportation budget. Excuse me, we did well in terms of community transit's priorities. We set modest goals. We went down to Olympia 3 times this year and worked to maintain our previously allocated federal funding under Connecting Washington and Move Ahead Washington. And so those include grants for our SWIFT projects, for the Green Transportation Program, and a few other things. And I'm happy to report that we came through relatively unscathed. We also were given an additional $2.5 million to fund our ongoing hydrogen fuel cell pilot program. So the legislature is supporting that effort, and I think it shows there's a recognition that we're leading in that space, and they're helping manage our financial risk on that investment. So really happy about that. There was a bill that passed that would authorize PTBA boards to add voting members in terms of 2 citizens who are transit system users to the board. This is a permissive bill, which means that's at the discretion of the board. It takes effect in January of 2026, so we've got some time to study it and talk about it and determine how you want to go forward with that. So we will be back to you with more information about that as we go forward. Our state lobbyist, Devor Jurassic, will come to the next board meeting and provide a full and comprehensive report on the results of the session and his and our activities in that regard. So that's just a quick assessment right now. Switching gears real quick to safety, I wanted to flag that you're all aware we had a shooting incident on April 20th in which a SWIFT coach was struck by gunfire, and thankfully nobody was injured. I'm happy to report Mayor Frizzell's police department were able to identify and detain the individuals who did that, and they're now in custody. And so, nothing obviously is more important than the safety of our employees and our customers. And it was great to see that law enforcement reacted and responded so quickly and was able to track down the assailants. Moving to regional partnerships and projects, I wanted to flag that the Redmond Link extension for Sound Transit is opening on May 10th. This is the additional 2 stations that are west of the current terminus at Microsoft. It's another big step toward the full activation of the 2 line, which of course, once it's activated across I-90, will result in a significant increase in rail capacity serving Snohomish County. So that should be the next step by the end of this year, and hopefully at the latest early next year, but we continue to work with Sound Transit to coordinate on all that. Swift Gold Line continues to advance. We are beginning to reach out to city staffs in each of the 3 cities, Arlington and Everett and Marysville, to talk about the next phase of public engagement. And we'll be showing design concepts and station locations during phase 2 of community outreach, which is currently scheduled to take place starting in July. So very exciting. Our hope is to get into preliminary engineering in the design phase by September. And work with the board to identify a preferred alternative and complete the scoping study by Q1 of next year. In VIA news, you will recall at our last meeting, we had some public comments from some VIA operators, and I wanted to report that our staff has met with VIA to discuss those comments and that feedback, and are pleased to see that the VIA management is responding. They are doing a couple of things to respond specifically to some issues that were brought up, including they're going to hold a virtual town hall for all drivers to pull people together and get things out on the table. They're going to establish office hours for connecting with employees at each of their locations here. And they're going to form a safety committee with employees, which will start. I don't know if they've started up yet, but all of this will continue to be standing business at our weekly meetings with VIA. And I'm pleased that they've been responsive so far to the feedback. The VIA CEO will be in town next week, and we'll be meeting with a courtesy call just to touch base. So we'll keep these issues front burner. It's audit season. We're in the middle of our federal triennial review, and that's going well so far, business as usual. The state audit process will be kicking off May 9th. You all should have an invitation to that from Rachel. So that's good news. The board and the public obviously invited to participate in that. And then last but not least, really delighted to share that the APTA rodeo competition took place early in April, and Matt Chomchak, who is our champion for Washington State bus drivers and who won the Washington State Transit Association rodeo last fall, competed at the national level and won first place as the best driver of a 40-foot coach in the United States of America. So that's pretty darn cool. We also had Mike had a maintenance team compete for the first time in several years since before COVID. And for a first-time team, they competed in a field of 52 and finished in 13th place, which is pretty darn good for a group of rookies. So always like to finish with some fun stuff. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Good deal. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. Any board members have questions, comments for the CEO? Yeah, Mayor Marine.
That's pretty cool that he won nationally. So we have like million-mile driver on the coaches. Are we putting something on his coach? The best driver in the country or anything? That would be really cool, right?
We'll look into it. He's coming to our all-hands meeting week after next, and he'll be getting a lot of celebration at that time with his coworkers.
Oh, that's
Very
a
good.
big deal.
Any other questions? I don't see any. Okay, thank you. On to committee reports. First, the executive committee. The executive committee met on April 17th. Mayor Frizzell, Councilmember Daughtry, Councilmember Merrill, and I attended. The CEO report, as was just shared, was provided. And the next committee meeting is scheduled for May 15th at 11:30. And we're on to the Finance, Performance, and Oversight Committee. Mayor Frizzell.
All right, the Finance, Performance, and Oversight Committee met on April 17th in a Zoom format. Board members, Councilmember Kim Daughtry and I attended. The committee reviewed and recommended one item to the consent agenda, approval of the March 2025 monthly expenditures and payroll vouchers, which will be items 7B through F on the consent agenda. The committee reviewed and recommended one item to the action agenda, and that item is on the agenda, resolution number 06-25, approving the 2025 mid-year budget amendment. Then we got some wonderful reports. Q1 2025 Security Services Quarterly Update, and Scott Eastman brought that to us. He is a senior manager for security and emergency management, and he presented the Q1 2025 Security Services Update. Each quarter, the Security and Emergency Management Division provides a system-wide performance report, and we appreciate hearing about that. We also received a sales tax report for March 2025, where Community Transit collected approximately $15.4 million in sales tax revenue, which was approximately $514,000 more than budgeted. And we ended the meeting with the diesel fuel update report for March 2025, and the average cost year to date through March 2025 is $2.86 a gallon, and the average cost per gallon budgeted for 2025 was $4. So wonderfully favorable variance of $1.14 a gallon year to date through March. The next meeting of the Finance, Performance, and Oversight Committee is scheduled for 2:00 Thursday, May 15th, 2025 via Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Frizzell. And on to the Strategic Alignment and Capital Development Committee, Councilmember Merrill.
Yes, the Strategic Alignment and Capital Development Committee meeting was held remotely over Teams on April 16th at 2 p.m. The meeting was attended by Councilmember Dunn, Mayor Marine, Councilmember Schweddy, Labor Rep Julian, and myself. The committee reviewed and forwarded 3 items that we will talk about on today's agenda. Award of the RFP 2025-26 Coach Operator Barrier Doors. The award of RFQ 2024-121 Bus Stop Improvement Designs. And 2025 through 2028 Title VI Program Update. The next meeting for the Strategic Alignment and Capital Development Committee is scheduled for Wednesday, May 21st at 2.
Thank you, Councilmember Merrill. Appreciate your report. All right, on to consent items. Item 7. Is there anyone who would like to remove any item from the consent agenda today? Looks pretty simple. All right, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, the motion was moved by Councilmember Merrill and seconded by Mayor Naring, I believe. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Consent agenda passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, we're on to our action items. First item is resolution number 06-25, approving the 2025 mid-year budget amendment. Mary Albert's here to tell us about it. Hi, Mary. Thank you.
So before you is Resolution 0625. This requests the amendment of the 2025 budget. The board may amend the budget 1 or more times annually. This may happen because of changes in business needs, economic factors, or other changes. In this amendment, the following items are requested. Transition-related costs for the contracted bus service that's being brought in-house. Several housekeeping adjustments related to some capital projects, as well as revisions to the administrative pay scale. Next slide, please. During 2025, Community Transit is transitioning service that's currently operated by TransDev in-house. The amendment requests staffing to perform this transition. So we'll need staff to operate approximately 13,650 hours. So that includes 42 coach operators, 2 term limited coach operator instructors, supervisors and a dispatcher, several support staff, and then additional funding for the coach operator trainee budget. We'll be hiring these positions as the hours are transitioned over. So we're asking for funding totaling $4.4 million, and that is spread out from now to the end of the year. Next slide, please. The second set of updates is to Exhibit C to the budget resolution. Exhibit C is the salary scales for administrative staff. We're proposing updates to bands E8 and E9. Those are related to market studies. We are simply bringing those bands up to market rates. This does not request an adjustment to budget, nor does it adjust anyone's salary. We are also requesting a new rate for transit security officers in training. So that is very similar to what we do with coach operators. The contract was approved in February, so we need a trainee rate. And then the final set of amendment adjustments relate to 2 capital projects. We're simply requesting the move of budget authority from a local capital projects fund and the facilities and technology fund into our federal or FTA federal grants fund. This is to allow for the federalization of one of our projects. That would be FMP7, which is the infrastructure design needed to bring battery electric charging technology into our Hardison campus base. The other transfer is a move of budget authority from a SWIFT project in one fund into the SWIFT Orange Line Corridors and Terminals project. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Mayor. So I think you said it's 4.4 million on the taking over for TransDev on that. I don't recall what are we saving by not paying TransDev? How close are we to a balance there? Or if you have that.
Yes, I do. So we're estimating about 13,650 hours at $2.50, excuse me, $250.41 per hour. So that gives us $3,417,000 in savings.
Oh, excellent.
So
Thank you.
Mayor Neri.
On band E8 and E9, you said it doesn't affect any salaries. Is that because nobody's in those bands or?
So the bands will change. The individuals who are in those bands will not get pay adjustments. Not in the current year.
In the current year, got it, okay, yeah. In their coming reviews or whatnot, it would, yeah.
We've got some commentary.
Mhm.
E stands for executive, so
Mhm.
that's
Okay.
the executive leadership team.
Got it.
Yeah, so we'll do performance evaluations for all employees at the end of the year.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions, board members? Okay, no questions. I'd entertain a motion.
Move the Board of Directors approve the proposed amendments to 2025 budget as presented in resolution number 06-25.
Second?
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Daughtry and seconded by, I didn't hear, Mayor Murray. Okay, maker of the motion, you get a chance to speak to it first, if you have anything to say about anything else. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor of approving this, let's see, resolution number 06-25, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate
Thank
it
you.
so much. All right, we're on to second action item, award RFP 2025-026, coach operator barrier doors. Mike Suela is right there to tell us all about it. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Good afternoon, board. Happy to be here. I'm Mike Suela, Senior Director of Maintenance for Community Transit, and it's my pleasure to talk to you about coach operator barrier doors. This has been a long time coming, so we'll start with a little background. I think I mentioned in the strategic alignment that the roots of this project were really in COVID. At that time, we were all experimenting with, how do we mitigate for these COVID risks? And my team in the body shop built a similar solution that many agencies did with this like plexiglass on a hinge. We looked at it and we evaluated it and we learned, it introduced some risk. There were some glare factors, and ultimately we decided it wasn't an appropriate COVID mitigation. But we had all that learning to draw on. The world kind of changed through COVID. We saw just different patterns emerging and different security issues happening. So around 2022, 2023, my team was directed to start learning more about doors, and we bought 4 doors that were kind of the industry standard at the time. They were a solid metal lower door and a glass automotive safety glass upper with a sliding window, and we put those in service and we learned more. We learned that there are doors on the market that don't create glare issues, that really provide an enhanced sense of security, and we have had those in service ever since. So as we're learning about it, we're seeing what's happening in the marketplace. We're learning that this is becoming the industry standard up and down the I-5 corridor from TriMet all the way up to us. This is the direction that large transit agencies are going. It's strongly supported by our labor partners. It's strongly supported, across the board. And so we started to really do an intentional process on what should coach operator doors look like for community transit. We have some stakeholders, right? There's a lot of folks. And when we're talking about a full fleet retrofit, There's Sound Transit that we operate. We have the two bases, we have the Cache Park base and the Hardison campus. We have our labor partners, and then there's our riders, right? The customers have a voice in this. So we brought together a team that included all of those folks. Sound Transit was at the table. Our customer experience folks were at the table. ATU provided about 4 people, from their leadership and coach operators who had that lived experience of operating in our system. So we could go through it together and do a risk analysis led by our chief safety officer to say, what should these doors have? What do they need to have? What should they have just for the operational comfort of our riders? What's important to us as community transit when we're looking for a door that's going to be appropriate for our fleet? So it took a while. Like, it was not a fast process, but again, when you're looking at retrofitting over 300 buses, you want to make sure you're doing it right. So that group came together. We came up with some required specifications. It has to provide security. Like I mentioned, this idea of kind of a solid metal lower part and that automotive safety glass upper. It's almost the same as what's on a car window, right? It's a very hard substance, but it also provides that anti-glare capability. It has to have unimpeded line of sight, right? You can't introduce a new risk when you're mitigating another risk. We have to meet the ADA requirements. We have to provide that good customer experience. One feature that was, kind of a surprise to me, but shouldn't have been as we were going through it, is the noise dampening latches. If you can imagine, driving for 8+ hours a day and hearing a constant rattling, how just nerve wracking that could become, that would introduce another risk, right? A distraction to an operator. And so that was just something that we felt was extremely important. Beyond that, we had to have the anti-glare as a desired specification. We wanted to see a quick release ability, automatic closing windows. We had our environmental health and safety folks in this group, and we talked about how an automatic windows or electric windows could mitigate maybe some issues around like shoulder strain from, opening and closing windows. So that was important too. From our learnings from our demo doors, we learned that there's some hills in Snohomish County. And if you park a bus on a hill and you open a door that's just on a hinge, it might close back on you again, right? And so can this door that we want to install, can it just stay open, kind of like your car door would, right? So we went through all these things. We worked with our procurement team to put out an RFP, 7 proposals. We saw a really robust response from the industry. There was, I think, the 7 proposals covered 4 different designs. Most of them had that solid metal lower and the automotive safety glass upper features. And so that really came down to, the normal RFP scoring criteria. What has the features, what has the price, what has the timeline for installation. And we had unanimous support for the recommended vendor. There's a timeline there. The vendor is eager to get started. If the board, supports this action, we're looking at getting a demo door installed so we can have that final assurance that, yes, this is the appropriate door for community transit. Then shortly after acceptance of demo door, they'll start producing them at about a rate of 10 a week once they're up and running. And my team will be doing the installs out of our body shop, and we would be looking at having the full fleet done by the end of next year with, as many as we can get done this year as possible, but hopefully getting all of our BRTs done this year is really the goal. Here's some pictures of some of the installation. You'll note that there's kind of the glass upper, the metal lower. There's some buttons there that kind of do the window operation. This particular design, the window operates vertically. It's got an electromagnetic latch, so it's very secure and doesn't rattle. It just kind of checked all of the boxes we were looking for, so we were pretty excited about that. The costs, I think CEO Elgin Fritz referred to earlier. We did the IGCE. This was right in line with our expectations and everything else. There is that 25% tariff contingency on there, and so coming in just under 3.8, including that contingency. With that, there's a recommendation, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, good job on this. The committee you had, or whatever you described with all the stakeholders, how are the coach drivers, operators represented on that? Was it coach operators themselves, union representatives, or?
Yes, and
Both,
we had
okay.
both. So we had executive board members and we had coach operators from the ATU. 4 in total ATU members participated in that group.
Was it unanimous support from that group on the product? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, you said that you were going to get these, the goal is to get all these on the BRTs by the end of the year. Are there any routes that you are particularly wanting to get these on? And then how do you arrange the bus schedules so that those come first?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, the BRTs are our highest ridership platform, so those seem like they would be the natural priority to do first. Beyond the BRT, so the BRT buses aren't assigned to a specific line. Any BRT bus could go do orange or green or blue. So those, as they get inserted, those will just be randomly showing up, you know, across those services. After that, we're going to be focusing on the articulated coaches. If ever my maintenance group doesn't have enough BRTs on any particular day, we might use a 60-foot coach to substitute for a BRT. And so the 60-footers will be the next ones. And we'll be just partnering with dispatch and the transportation group if there's any desire to ensure a specific coach on a specific line.
Thank you.
I just have the tariff contingency. I mean, obviously the big elephant in the room. How does that work in terms of this particular item getting approved, approving it for the full amount in case the tariff applies? Maybe this is not even answerable, but how does that work?
There's a lot of unknowns, right? And as we were corresponding with the vendors, that was the information they had at the time that might apply to the, you know, they have metal that comes from Canada, other various parts. And so the best knowledge they had at the time is this might apply. So we added it into the pricing in case we had to pay it. If we don't have to pay it, then it just stays in our normal capital funds.
Okay, all right, good. All right, Councilmember Merrill.
When we talked about this in the strategic alignment group, refresh my memory, but didn't, as part of that, when we were asking about the tariffs, which of course came up in that group also, wasn't it also true that most all of these vendors, whether they were the Canadian or the domestic builders, were using parts sourced everywhere? So the tariffs would have applied to any of the suggestions that we got, or any of the replies that we got.
Yes, that's my
Okay.
understanding. The metal mostly comes from Canada. And just, you know, like we've seen with the automotive industry, a lot of the parts are crossing back and forth across the border for various treatments. So the potential is there in any vendor.
Yeah, good point, Councilman Merrill. Appreciate it. Okay, if there.
Want a motion?
Yeah. Oh, you got a motion?
Yeah,
Mayor Marie?
I move the Board of Directors authorize the CEO to negotiate and award a contract RFP number 2025-026, coach operator barrier doors to Vision Systems Canada for a not to exceed amount of $3,800,000, including tax and an approximate 25% potential tariff for the initial contract year, contingent upon successful acceptance of the demo door.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion made by Mayor Marine, seconded by Mayor Frizzell. Mayor Marine, maker of the motion. Anything you want to
I
say?
just don't want to be a barrier to this, so I will go ahead and vote yes.
Yeah.
You had to ask it, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Any other comments up and down? Yeah. All right, let's vote on this. All those in favor of this RFP 2025-026, the barrier doors, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Mike, for your hard work on this. This is very important to the agency. So thank you so much. All right, item C, award. Sorry, I didn't wait for the applause, Mike. I knew it was coming, right? So item C, award RFQ 2024-121 bus stop improvements design. Robert Rich, come on down. Thank you. And Melissa, too.
I wanted a chance for you to get to know Rob Rich, who is our manager of speed and reliability, which also includes our bus stop program. So this is his first foray here at the board, so be nice to him. So you may recall that several years ago, we realized that as our service is beginning to grow and we're expanding across the PTBA, so is our bus stop program. It's become very robust, and that we needed to start setting aside some funding for that. And so I think the first pot of money was maybe a $10 million to jumpstart the program. As you can imagine, this is a tricky program because it's across the PTBA. day, different types of amenities for different locations. And unlike our normal capital project where you go to one spot and you build it, this is one where you go there, you design and engineer it, and then you have to demobilize and go to the next stop. And so we've been working on getting our arms around how we're going to sort of tackle this. How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? And so this is our first bite that we wanted to share with you. This is new work and a different approach. And so Rob's going to walk you through that.
Thank you, Melissa, and good afternoon, members of the board. I'm going to be presenting on the RFQ award. First, I want to give a little bit of background to follow up on that the Chief Planning Officer just gave about this program. As she's noted, we've had a bus stop program for some time. The need that that's addressing, I think, is important. You know, community transit has over 1,600 stops. Large majority of those are unimproved. We're looking to improve seating and shelter through this program, as well as making sure that we have an accessible boarding and alighting area and a comfortable experience for our customers. And that's really to ensure that, you know, this mode can continue to be competitive and that we're really prioritizing their accessibility, safety, and comfort throughout the ride. So there are pre-existing work that we do within the bus stop program. A lot of that is jurisdictional engagement historically, where we have worked with agency partners to design those stop areas. And we are going to be looking at other channels for improvement of stops through partnerships and through accelerated methods for quick fixes. But the focus today is really on what will be our flagship project, the bus stop improvement, or we're going to be calling it cycle projects. And this particular presentation is going to speak to cycle 1. The distinction there is that we will be leading both the design and construction of stop improvements, and we'll maintain full control over that design process. So cycle 1 will encompass 25 stop sites over 5 different jurisdictions. They're displayed here. They were selected for this initial sort of trial period cycle based on specific characteristics of the stops, notably the ridership to and from the stop, the demographics of the area around the stop, whether or not they were transit-dependent populations, the wait times that customers experience at those stops, and the demand around that stop for paratransit usage is seen as, you know, to indicate whether or not we might be able to attract more customers to that stop. And I think it's important to sort of highlight the basic improvements that we would be making. There's a lot of different elements to these projects, but they're primarily focused on bringing a transit shelter with seating, and I'm showing here our standard metal design shelter, as well as making sure that we have an accessible boarding and alighting area, that's sufficient room for customers to use, as well with some consideration for the front door area where we tend to serve wheelchair customers, as well as accessible pathways to the zone. So this is what I would consider sort of the core design elements of the stop in this project. And we anticipate that all of the cycle 1 stops will have those core elements if we're successful in our construction effort. There may be others. We are looking at also potentially relocating stops where that would be advantageous either for customer access or for bus operations, so as to speed up the operations of the bus, and where appropriate, making upgrades to sidewalk and other infrastructure in the immediate zone of the stop to ensure a continuous experience for our customers that is safe and comfortable. Now, this is just our initial design approach. We anticipate that in future cycles, we will be revisiting those designs to try to optimize them. And this will be an iterative process as we expand the number of stops in each cycle, and then we hopefully have a more cost-effective and fine-tuned design. So for the cycle 1, the schedule, excuse me, is approximately 12 months from the kickoff after this award and through to construction. We are trying to go for an accelerated design process that still is a traditional plan specification and estimate process. So a little detail, we did have a competitive request for qualifications for the architectural engineering services for this project. The scope of that procurement would cover us for the first 3 cycles, but the specific amount in this award and the recommendation today is specific to the scope I just outlined. It is only for cycle 1 and those 25 stop sites. The scope of work is a wraparound design services contract through the very beginning. We've done the initial planning, but through the construction phase, encompassing all of the detailed design, as well as services necessary to potentially to acquire rights to operate on private parcels and land, which is something we're trying to really understand in this first round. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, board members, questions? Mayor Marine?
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. So are all of those 25 in locations that don't have a shelter currently? Or we replacing some that already have shelters?
There is at least one presumed deficiency for our standard. Most do not have shelters. There are some areas where there's a deficiency in the boarding and lighting area and there is a shelter, but the majority do not, the vast majority.
So is it possible that some of those used to have shelters, but because of damage have been taken out and not replaced? I mean, I've noticed it over the years, you know, we'll start with plexiglass and then they do graffiti on it and break it and then so then it's a screen. So you have more wind and then if they damage that, then pretty soon it's just open. Which is always amazing to me, right? We build these to give people shelter. Why do they want to ruin them? It's for them. But people do a lot of things I don't understand. So I'm just curious, are we going back and putting in shelters where we had trouble with shelters before? I guess is the question.
The majority of these sites do not have a shelter pad. In some cases, there may be a shelter pad, and we want to make sure that that is up to the structural requirements of the new shelters and that we're updating everything. But I think there's probably going to need to be separate projects and efforts under our program, because there are a number of, we've also noted that a number of shelter pads throughout the system, and we need to make sure that those are safe to install on. So that is a known issue. In the vast majority of cases here, we do not have a shelter pad.
So they're new.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Mayor Frizzell?
A couple of questions. What qualifies as a cycle one? So I'm hearing they didn't have a shelter there before. Is that the only qualification?
We created a ranked list of all the stops in the system to try to understand where we could make the most impact in this initial cycle, and then screened that list to see if there was a deficiency from what our sort of draft design standard was, which we hope to refine in cycle one. So a deficient boarding and lighting area, no shelter, would both be some of the key things we're looking for in that screening process.
So speaking to Mayor Marine's comments about shelters that have been damaged, you showed a specific shelter on the screen here, but the ones at 128th are a little different, so there's no lying down. Are those going to be implemented as well, or are those only there because of the challenges that we had at 128th?
Not familiar with the specific challenges in 128, but there has been an evolution to that metal back design as a result of the vandalism that was mentioned. And at this time, I think that that's likely the design that will be going in at the end of the cycle one stop.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Merrill?
If I remember, community transit has approximately 1,900 stops, I think what I had. Remember, if they look at the long-term vision of this, what's going to be the percentage of covered shelters at the end of time versus the single, a pole and a sign stops? Do you have an estimate on that?
We do not. And I think one of the things that we want to see through this cycle one project and through future projects is how much it is going to cost to improve these sites, and how well we can work within the constraints of the right of way that exists. Because in many cases there's not enough space back of sidewalk for us to put a shelter pad or elsewhere in the right of way on public zone. So those are some major challenges in terms of cost, but this is I think a very deep need, and it could be a long-term effort to both install and maintain the shelters.
Yeah, we're working on service standards right now, which means this type of amenity would be appropriate here. This type of amenity would be appropriate there. And that's going to require us, once we sort of get those locked down, to do a full assessment of, what's there now, what would it be with the upgraded standard or not. And so that's still part of biting on the elephant.
Yeah, it's just, since this came up, I have looked at the bus shelters in my immediate area or the bus stops, and just intuitively, it doesn't make, I don't see the difference between a pole here and a covered shelter there, but you explained some of that.
The
And,
goal is you will after we're done.
Yeah.
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 and I'm
Good
assuming
response.
that none of them will have heated massage reclining chairs with a reading light.
Well, we could
Okay.
come back for a lot more money for that.
Thank you.
We'll pass on that.
Quiet.
Councilmember Dunn?
Thank you. I'm curious about coordination with the jurisdictions of where the shelters are located, especially if they have planned like pedestrian upgrades in the same area. Will you do any type of coordination?
Yes, we have been in touch with our agency partners to let them know about this project. And in many cases, we review their capital improvement plans to understand where those partnership opportunities exist. We have to go through permitting process with them for these improvements. So there's natural checkpoints. We have already engaged and we intend to engage throughout the design process to identify opportunities to take advantage of that through our partnerships program, and to make sure that our vision aligns with theirs.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Councilmember Daughtry?
Does this kind of project rise to the level of being on the PSRC's radar, Transportation Policy Board's radar for different, with the capital projects for all the different jurisdictions? Does this rise to the level of being included in that? Because what we've been talking about for the last year or so at PSRC Transportation Policy Board is making sure that we know where everything's at and how everybody's doing stuff. So we're basically going in the same direction. And like Councilmember Dunn said, not wasting money by, okay, now we're going to go and tear it up again so we can do this.
So these projects aren't required to be on the STIP, with the PSRC. They often do, as you know, an information gathering work with the transit agencies about, how many stops do you have in shelters and what would the cost be, on an annual basis to maintain or upgrade the system. And so we would provide that to them, but nothing other than that. So.
Okay.
Any other questions? Mayor Marine?
This one, Rob, you had brought up design, came up a few times, like, okay. One of the things that always bugged me about Sound Transit is I don't think, everything's a one-off, right? And it's great that this station represents this community and this one, and they're all different. I don't think any of them have the same light fixtures and that's expensive. I always like the community transit, literally you unbolt, put it on the flatbed, put the new one on, take this back, fix it, or do what you need to do. And that makes sense to me, right? We shouldn't have 5 different bus station or stop designs. All the bolt patterns fit, and it's easy to maintain and to keep. So I'm assuming we're still going down that same path of having same designs.
Yes, no, that's, we agree. Standardization is really important. Once you start to look at economies of scale, and as the chief planning officer said, we are looking to have design standards. I think we wanted the lessons learned from the practical implementation here to inform those design standards. We used to have them. This is an update. So we are definitely aiming towards having an approach that becomes very clearly documented and wherever possible standardized.
One thing of note is that, so for the new shelters, that's a capital project that lives in planning and development, right? So when we're putting in a new shelter, we'll be having a construction contract for that. But this is also a very strong partnership with facilities maintenance. And so we're aligned with Roland and Sarah and those teams to make sure that we understand what each other's work is. And so, the facilities maintenance staff are going out usually and doing some of those replacement on behalf of the bus stop program. It's good collaboration.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to make sure that Councilmember Peterson, I can't see you, so you're easy to ignore here. Do you have any questions on this at all?
Thanks for checking. I do not have any questions.
Okay, good deal. Anybody else? All righty, I would entertain a motion on this.
I move that the Board of Directors authorize the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate an award contract 2025-121 to KPFF Inc. for a not to exceed amount of $731,463.59 for the bus stop improvements design project.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Merrill and seconded by Councilmember Daughtry. Mr. Merrill, anything you'd like to say about this as a maker of the motion? It hasn't been said.
I'm excited to see us go forward with this. I think that it has a aesthetics of a better shelter, and I think it'll improve ridership. Certainly, it makes a difference for me as a bus rider to have that out there. So thank you.
Very good, very good.
You're still voting yes, even though it didn't have the massage chairs and the.
Okay, we've kicked this around and a lot of good questions on that. Let's vote on it then. All those in favor of this motion 2025-121 signify by saying aye.
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 Passes unanimously. Thank you,
Thank
Rob.
you.
Appreciate it. Welcome to presenting. We appreciate it. All right, our last action item of the day is adopt community. Are we doing the clapping? I have to get used to that.
Do the new thing.
Adopt Community Transit 2025-2028 Title 6 program. Matt Muller's here. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. So I'm here following a month of public outreach to provide an update on the feedback we received for purposes of advancing a recommendation that we adopt our 2025 to 2028 Title VI program. So as a reminder, over the last few months, we've had a couple of touch points with the board to highlight the changes that we are proposing to our Title VI program and the analysis associated with that. Over the last month, particularly in April and parts of March, we conducted public engagement with community-based organizations, as well as held an online open house. And so here today to present the feedback we received and seek board approval. So as I just alluded to, our community engagement team reached out and held meetings with 4 CBOs that serve different parts of our community and ridership base. We also had an online open house that was visited by hundreds of individuals, and we had a really strong response rate of over 100 individuals, and that included responses in both English and Spanish. So in general, the feedback we received was positive. It was also very broad. It wasn't strictly focused on just our Title VI program, but some of the specific feedback that we received for the program was just noting observations of growth of other languages in the community. There were requests and recommendations to increase our in-person engagement with CBOs in advance of things like service changes. And then just to continue to increase the methods and manners in which individuals could provide feedback, as well as how we share information and seek feedback. All of that is kind of provided in a lot of detail in Appendix D of the program, if you've had the chance to review it. And, you know, with this, this is a 3-year program. And so over the course of those 3 years, the feedback that we gathered here, as well as, you know, further feedback that we gather in the interim, we will use to continue to adapt and modify the plan. I know Chelsea, who leads our community engagement, is already working with IT and other departments to see which of the elements that we receive feedback on can become immediately actionable, and which are, you know, some that we have to plan for and incorporate into our regular workflows. So with that, I'm asking for the board of directors to adopt our 2025 to 2028 Title VI program.
Okay, Matt, thank you so much. Board members, are there questions? Mayor Frisell.
Hey, Matt, was there any major changes to the Title VI? Was it just a little bit here and there, adding a sentence or two, or was there anything of significance that we should be aware of?
I would say the primary item of significance where we are changing the languages that we will translate, provide in the language block translation services to, and highlight those translation services to. That was, you know, based on a review of the type of languages that our website were being translated into, calls that we were seeing to our language line, and just general changes in kind of American Community Survey data since the last update. Most of the changes beyond that were administrative in nature. So
That pretty much mirrored it and
Okay, other comments, questions from board members? Councilmember Dunn.
Thank you. In the CEO remarks, we heard about a process for adding end users to board members. Did you get any feedback in the outreach of a desire for that?
no, I do not recall seeing anything in the comments that alluded to that particular item.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Other comments, board members? Anybody? Okay, well, I think we're ready to vote for this. The Board of Directors adopt Community Transit's 2025-2028 Title VI program. Someone would like to make that motion?
I'll go ahead and move that the Board of Directors adopt Community Transit's 2025 through 2028 Title VI program.
second.
Okay, motion made by Mayor Naring and I think seconded by Mayor Marine. Anything, Mayor Naring, would you like to say about that? Okay, all right. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor of moving this forward, the Title VI program, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Bat. Appreciate your help and work on that. All right, we're on to this is starting a whole new deal here. I don't know how to deal with this, but anyway. All right, we're on to the chair's report. Let me see. The next regular meeting is scheduled. Wait a minute, I don't see the. So the next regular meeting is scheduled for May 1st at 3 p.m. as Rick shared. What's that?
This is May 1st.
This is May 1st. Yeah. Listen. Okay, as Rick shared it. June 5th, excuse me. I need a little auditing here. That's what we're doing. So June 5th. So next regular meeting is scheduled for June 5th. I just read what I have in front of me, folks. I mean, so that could be really dangerous. I could say some really bad things as I put it in front of me. As Rick shared, the audit entrance conference is scheduled for May 9th at 1 p.m. And we're on to board communication. So I'll just go down the line on that and see Councilmember Daughtry.
Well, on the ZIP program, I just noticed that there's a lot of zipping around in Lake Stevens, so it's looking good. They're everywhere.
Okay, and I should have mentioned there is no executive session, obviously, today. Councilmember Dunn.
Nothing to
Nothing for
report.
you today? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Mayor Frizzell.
I wanted to add a few more comments regarding the bus incident that happened in Linwood. And as you can imagine, if gunshots are being fired around you, you could probably get a little rattled. And when our police arrived, they reflected that this bus driver did a great job. They remained calm, cool, collected, composed. They were able to provide a statement when the investigators came there. And the driver also was very concerned about passengers and provided a caring environment. And when I met with him yesterday, he said he also wanted to extend a thank you to Community Transit in general for being responsive and collaborative to all of the questions that were asked, and to the concern on the CT side that he witnessed was that CT wanted to create a safe transit environment for drivers and riders. So great partnership and unfortunate situation, but hats off to the driver.
Good. Labor Representative Julian, anything for us today?
Hi, thank you. Well, I'm thrilled. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the great work and collaboration between Community Transit and all the stakeholders to present this really excellent barrier door for approval today. And I thank you guys for your support. The operators, thank you. This has been a long time coming. This particular door is phenomenal. It exceeds our highest expectations. So we're very, very thrilled about that. I also just would like to tag along to what was being said earlier about the shooting incident. As we've seen, these types of unacceptable incidents are increasing, all over the country, unfortunately. And this is a really great time to be standing up our TSOs, putting in our barrier doors. I'd like to also acknowledge that Community Transit has been very responsive in working with the union to make sure that we're kept updated as things unfold, and in supporting the operators and the frontline workers that this is affecting. So it's been really heartening, and we don't often get a chance to make a report like that. So I'm thankful that we're on the right path. We have a long ways to go. Everybody's really counting on us to do good work, and we are off to a great start. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Danny. Mayor Marine.
Nothing other, again, congratulations to the two employees, 40 years, wow, amazing,
Pretty
amazing. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. Councilmember Merrill. Anything from you today?
I guess the only thing I would have to say is if you are looking for something to do on Saturday morning, the state of the city of Snohomish will be 11 o'clock Saturday morning.
Good. Very good. Mayor Nearing.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Councilmember Peterson online. Anything from you today?
Nothing to report. Thanks.
Okay. All righty. Councilmember Sweaty.
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing. Okay. And let me see. So we'll go to our board alternates, and I see Councilmember Gallagher's here. He's just going to wave at us and like say it's all good and rare. And let me see. Is Mayor Matsumoto Wright's not on today, is she? She's almost always there. Okay. Well, that would be it then. I think Councilmember Payne's not with us today. So, all righty. So anything else? There's no executive sessions we mentioned. Anything else for the good of the order today? Would you like to share with the transit agency and the board? Good deal. All right, we're going to adjourn this meeting then at 4:12. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you on May 1st, right? No, just kidding. Just kidding. Thank you.
And we'll get on our quality control.
Oh, well.